Hello there, welcome to another show. This is another double bill we're going for today. This is Speed and Speed 2, Spot the Difference. Two films, same director, different lead actor, same lead actress, and different villains. One's very good and one's very bad. I just thought, I watched Speed recently and I thought I would watch Speed 2 as well and do a video on it. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to just spot the difference. Just how different a few years can make into a career. Where one film has a good script and good planning and one has a terrible script and the shots are always in the wrong place. So it's quite interesting to look at. So that's why I'm doing it. So Speed, you probably know, is Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, bombing a bus. Very simple setup. You know, Dennis Hopper's a crazy guy. He tries to hold City hostage from bombing an elevator. Keanu Reeves and Jeff Daniels foils him. He gets mad, he puts a bomb in a bus, and the bus slows down and explodes, and has to keep on moving through traffic and not slow down. And it's just a wonderful premise, which you could never do an idea as good as that again in any sequels. Like, it was a 1 in a million chance, it was a one-off. So it's always going to be difficult to do a sequel to this story because the charm of it was moving vehicles and how complicated they could be and how the tension could just be by what happens with real life thrown into this terrorist situation. It's just a wonderful idea. And it was in development for a while. Different people rewrote it. Ray Yost wrote it, and he's the guy who ended up doing Justified and a bunch of other stuff. Joss Whedon came in and rewrote it for the character stuff, and through a hissy fit, they didn't get any screen credit, even though he's a rewrite man. You know, this is one of Joss Whedon's early parts where this time he didn't ruin the script, which sometimes he ruined the scripts when he was involved as a rewrite man. This time he didn't. He just added stuff for people on the bus. But even some of the bus stuff is cringy. Some of the stuff he added. And some of the stuff works. But even the cringy stuff isn't that bad. It's still quite enjoyable because there's always going to be something else happening that's interesting. Because the plot into this film really works. There's always something new happening. And that's why Graham Jost has share a lot of credit for this, because it's really the situation with these characters in this situation. The characters are not that deep, but the situation is always moving forward to keep you interested. And that's the joy of the film. And that's probably why he got the full credit, is because the structure of the script was an important part. The dialogue you could change, and the actors did some nice stuff with it, but the important stuff was the structure of that story, which is something Joss Whedon's really bad at, is story structure of these kind of things. He does cheats all the time. The structure here was the thing that was really important. Now, the main thing of this film really is it just worked. Everything came together and worked. The script was really solid. The idea was really good. The script was solid. They got Whedon to do some rewrites for the character stuff. Jan de Bont was a new director, being a DP. He'd worked under people like Paul Verhoeven and John McTiernan, and they're really good directors. So I mean, yeah, he's a talent, but he's working under really good directors, really clever directors who could shoot stuff and keep the camera moving and keep everything working within a story. So he's working off really good directors, and he was never as good as that. But his first film gave him such a solid idea that he couldn't really mess it up. And obviously it led to him probably thinking he was better than he was. But this idea was so good that he couldn't really mess it up. Even though actually I've always felt that the direction of this film was good, but a bit janky at times. Like, it gets by the scripting. But sometimes the camera's not in the best place to get the action. But it still works because the cast is so much fun. The action works. The situation works. But sometimes he puts the camera in ways that I think are a bit awkward. But it doesn't matter though, because the whole idea is so good that it really pushes forward. So even though they add a bit to the end, which is they stuck in a train, which is a bit a very much studio note section of the film, you know, doesn't matter. If it's such a good time before that, it does not matter. It's still so enjoyable, and the film remains enjoyable even though you know all the twists because the pacing's so good, and they actually hire good actors, good character actors, to actually fill in the supporting parts. So for Jeff Daniels as a partner, being grumpy as hell and really enjoying, it's really enjoyable watching him just be grumpy. And apparently he didn't have a clue what the hell was going on most of the film. He was like, I don't have a clue. Like, I think he was surprised it turned out any good. I think that grumpiness really helped the film. Kenny Reeves is still a new actor at that point, but he been in quite a lot. This was his second Dennis Hopper movie. He was in River's Edge with him before. He's still becoming the action icon he was going to become. He was still on the ropes. He'd done Point Break. I mean, ugh. um, so he'd already done one iconic action film. This was the one that kind of cemented him. And the thing about him, they were calling him wooden, but actually he was very much a case of he was straight ahead in what he was doing always. And that's the thing that becomes the charm of him as he goes through these parts, is that he understands where he needs to be for the action. The same way Steve McQueen understood in action movies what he was meant to be doing, not to get in the way. Sometimes it's on cameras and him. Sometimes you don't get in the way. You just do what needs to be done. And he's very effective in this film because he knows what he needs to be doing, and he knows when to leave it to other actors to do the supporting part stuff. So when he understood his part in the film. Sandra Bullock is obviously the rising star in this film. She just come off Demolition Man, which is another fun as hell 90s action movie. A bit more satirical in this one. She's great as in the lead, as a co-lead. She's wonderfully sarky and scared and, very relatable character. Joe Morton shows up as Keanu Reeves' boss, and he's running around trying to keep everything from falling apart around him. He's the guy who has to organise the traffic in front of him behind the bus all the time to avoid it blowing up. And he's always a lot of fun. But he didn't die in this film. He always seems to die in these blockbusters, and it's kind of disappointing he didn't die in this one. I'm just putting this out to Saoirse Ronan, just to be annoying. Everything works, all the actors work. I think that's part of the joy. Dennis Hopper's having a lot of fun as the mad bomber. Like, everyone's having fun. Hopper's always improvising some weird stuff, and they're playing off it really well. It's like they're having fun. I mean, it's like they just let them do stuff. I don't think anyone cared because this film was made the same time as True Lies, which is the big budget Schwarzenegger James Cameron film for Fox. And this was the other film they were making in summer, the kind of smaller action movie. I don't think anyone really cared about this one. It was like, this is a film. We'll see what happens. Let's hope it's not too bad. It's that kind of film. I think they just let him. So Dennis Hopper was allowed to just kind of do what he did. Everyone was kind of allowed. I think a lot of people get their parts because no one cared. It was like, yeah, just let them do it. Because it wasn't the big budget film for that year. So it was just like, yeah, let them do it. I think Jan de Bont got the job because he had a lot of imagination and no one else really wanted to do the job. And it was the minor film of the two big blockbusters that year. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I think it got away with a lot of, yeah, why not? And then it just had such a good idea that it just always worked. It's like, there was lots of really fun stuff. Like, there's a bit with Kenny because onto the bus. And the line, so he's the car's towing him, and he's under the bus, and the line breaks. That's always one of my favourite bits. It's not the more famous one, but I think it's one of the better ones because it's real jeopardy. It's like, that looks pretty dangerous. And that's one of the minor sequences. Everything just really works in this film. It's just so enjoyable, repeatedly enjoyable. Even you know what's happening, it's still enjoyable to watch it. Even though some of the acting's over the top. There's a lot of screeching. Jan de Bont likes character screeching a lot and yelling. He seems to have a view of women in these films that they screech like they're in a 70s disaster movie. That happens through all his movies. It's weird. And it's annoying in some of the other movies, but this one is fine because everything else is so good. And just as you're about to get annoyed by it, something else crazy's happened, And it's just always interesting. It's so well constructed, though. That's the big thing you take away from it. Watching again is like, the story is so well constructed for this is an action movie and that's it. We start here, we end here. It's nice to let the characters bits an action movie and that's it. That's all it is. It's really well made. And that's why people still enjoy watching it, because it's so well made. You know, and no one gets in the way of that. Everyone knows the place. I think an actor in the lead who was hogging the camera all the time would have been really annoying. I think just having someone who knew what he was doing really worked for the film's favour. Now we go to Speed 2. I should say I watched both these in the cinema when they came out. And I watched both of them for projector for this. So I saw them as big a screen as possible. And Speed 2 has not aged well. It was never good in the first place. Speed 2 is one of those disastrous sequels that it's like... I teased when I did the Battle Royale 2 video that I was going to do an even worse sequel than Battle Royale 2. And this is it. This is just like... this was released the same summer as Batman and Robin. Between them, both of these were like... How could you mess up this badly? What the hell is going on? Even a flawed film like Lost World looks good in comparison. And this is also a summer that released Face Off and Con Air. And so there's a lot of good action movies out there. Just not this one. This is a disaster. It was a bad sign that Keanu Reeves did not do the film. He turned it down. He read the script and he turned it down. Even though they were offering him a fortune to do it, he was like, nope. Like, he could just read the script and go, nope, this is not good. I'm not doing this one. And he got a lot of abuse for it for a time, and then the film came out and was like, oh, he's really smart. He could see this one coming. It was that thing, it takes a lot of to turn that man down for this film and be confident in it. Because, I mean, just after that, turned this down, he went and did Matrix. And he was an even bigger superstar after that, so it was a good move to turn this down. Unfortunately, Jason Patric got stuck with it. And Jason Patric's you've probably seen me cover a couple of his films like The Beast and Geronimo recently. He's a very good actor who never quite got the break. Because he's a serious actor, he wasn't trying to be charismatic all the time. He was trying to be a serious actor. And Hollywood didn't have a clue what to really do with him. So he was always placed, either misplaced in a film or just left to go and do his own thing. I mean, usually left to do his own thing. He did stuff like Narc and films that he was good in. But this one, he didn't have a hope in hell. The part was terrible. And it was obviously written for Keanu Reeves. There's so much in this film that was obviously written for to be a sequel to the first one. And they had to change the actor, so they changed the character. And they were in a situation that didn't make sense for this new character. Because the whole thing was him and Annie, Sandra Bullock's character, are now together. He's a SWAT team member, her second SWAT team boyfriend. Joe Morton shows up in 2 minutes at the beginning of the film to introduce him, and then disappears again. Like, he get paid, he's got out of here quick. And it doesn't work at all because their chemistry doesn't work in this film because they don't have anything to do. I mean, the Sandra Bullock character has regressed in this film. She is much worse in this film. She doesn't have anything to do. They don't give her anything to do. They make her stupider. In the first film, she was a smart character. In the second film, she whines a lot and goes, meh, 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 meh. And you're like, you feel sorry for the actress. It's like, she was obviously bored as hell in this film. They give her nothing to do. She's a hostage for the last third of the film. And the middle third of the film, she runs around a lot and has nothing definite to do. They have to give her action scene to her, a minor action to that slows the entire pace of the film down, give her something to do because there's nothing there for her. And it's just terrible. And Jason Patric has nothing. He has to do all this stuff written for another actor, and then they haven't really done anything for him to put his teeth into at all. So it's like, what do you think was going to happen? What you got was what was behind me, which is a boat slowly moving through other boats into an island. That's the finale, and it's boring as hell. The whole thing's boring as hell. I mean, you've got Tamara Morrison, who's a good actor. He's like the assistant captain. The captain dies early on, so he's the guy who has to run the boat throughout the film. And he has nothing to do. He just has to say to Jason Patric a lot, don't do that, and he goes and does it anyway. he has nothing. It's a complete waste of a good actor. You have a bunch of other actors in there who are all trying to do stuff, and they're always yelling a lot and screaming and squelching, and you want everyone in this film to die. You want a boat to blow up really quickly because everyone's annoyed. That's a bad thing, you know. In the first film, you kind of liked the characters, even though they were a bit whiny at times, but you still enjoyed the characters. In this one, no one's established, you hate them all, you want them all to die. But more importantly, the big important thing in this is a boat that can't go too fast, but also shooting a boat is dangerous, so you can't get the cameras to the angles they need to establish any suspense. Because there's lots of stuff, the boat's moving slow, so you always just feel you're watching a slow moving boat. You've also got these propellers below, which you can't go too close to ever, or you're going to injure somebody. So you can't get the angles of the camera to show suspense, so you just have to use CGI a lot and it looks fake. But the angles are never right anyway because they don't quite know how to shoot this to make it look fast. And it's just weird, and it's like the basics of suspense are not there. Basic stuff that any film would do is not there, which is really weird. Have you seen Juggernaut from the 70s, Richard Lester film? It's bombing a boat. Just like this one, it's amazing, it's so good. It's got a lot of character actors on the boat, a lot of people doing stuff, there's a captain, there's all these bomb experts, supposed experts. It's great, there's a suspense sequence with them having on the boat in the middle of winter, when the weather's terrible and how dangerous it is. That one sequence, it takes about 2 minutes, is more suspenseful than anything that happens in this film. And they have them going under the boat and everything in this one, and there's no suspense. Because you haven't established a character you like. You've just got these people who are just annoying or pretend to be someone else. It doesn't work. There's such a long build up to this. And they're trying to be funny, and Jan de Bont is not funny. And the biggest problem is they did not bring the team behind the first film together. The different writers. So the writer of the first one pitched something that was ignored. They went on and did Broken Arrow instead, which was a hit. Not the greatest film, but it was a hit, and it was a enjoyable John Woo film. It wasn't brilliant, but it was enjoyable. The producer went on to that one as well. They did that just before this came out, and they made a lot of money, and this one didn't. So they didn't have a good understandable setup for suspense. And they also had a problem with this boat is there's a lot of mechanics in the boat that you don't understand. They have to spend so much time setting up, and it's like, I don't really care. So we want him to fall around this ship the first third of the film, setting up his character as a villain, but you don't quite understand why he's doing things. You see him wandering around stuff. He's like, I guess this will pay off later. And it pays off, and you're thinking, well, what was that for? Or, I'm not that interested anyway, because it's not very interesting. It's like, and a lot of the suspense beats are weird ship mechanics, like how do you slow it down by pumping water into it and why you don't. And you feel like watching a manual, you're reading like a instruction manual rather than watching an action film. And that's the big problem. It's like, we have to do this thing to stop it or slow it down. Okay, go do it. Then you show the suspense sequence, and the cameras, because they're shooting a boat, they can't get a camera where they need to get suspense, and they haven't established any characters. It means you're bored, you don't care what happens to anybody. They're not putting the camera in the right direction anyway to tell you what's happening to the person, and they're talking about something that's complicated and you can't be bothered following it. And you wonder why you're following it anyway, because the plot is so stupid. So it doesn't matter, because Willem Dafoe just wants to steal some diamonds and get off the boat, and that's it. And they haven't established any setup of this leads to this leads to this. And instead, things just happen and they go to the next thing. There's no actual through line of this will lead to this to create more suspense. So you never get a sense of escalation. You just get a sense of things are happening, and the camera's going like that a lot, and I don't understand why, and I don't feel suspenseful at all. So this is a film that fails in the characters, the establishing leading characters. It fails in the setup because there's nothing simple like there's a bomb in a bus. It's just like this one, there's a bomb in a boat, and you have to do things to solve the problem. Willem Dafoe tries his best, but he isn't given much of a character, and none of the set pieces really. Like, there's certain things that happen just to set up later on suspense sequences that you realise you went through a lot of stuff and none of it was interesting. So by the time you get to suspense sequence they were setting up, you're not really interested. The one kind of half decent potential one is this bit where the boat's going to go into this oil tanker and they have to go underwater and turn this thing to turn the direction it's heading in. That should have been a really good sequence. But by the time it gets to it, you're so bored. You're really so bored that even them ramming a boat into an oil tanker doesn't get you interested. And then they go to this whole the second half is just like action after action scene, but nothing's interesting. You're thinking, I wonder what's happening outside. I saw this film with the Titanic trailer in front of it in the first release, because they're both released in 1987. And I spent most of the film thinking, how did they do those effects in Titanic? Some of that stuff looks quite interesting. Try to work it out, and rather than watching this film, because I was so bored in the film. There's a hope that what they thought was a big suspense sequence at the end was them trying to slow down a ship that's going into this island, and they're crashing through all these boats. It's boring. It's massively expensive, and it's boring as hell, and there's nothing there. I think they're thinking this will be like the suspense of the bus in the first one, but there's none of that. It's just a lot of silly jokes. There's no really close calls or anything. There's no setup of suspense. It's just like bad gag after bad gag. And it's just horrible. It's just the most horrible film. And then they go to another action scene after that to save Sandra Bullock from the villain. It's almost like, oh yeah, we've got to finish this film off now. Crap. Let's blow someone else up. So they blow up the oil tanker they avoided earlier on. And Willem Dafoe was blown up an oil tanker or something. Doesn't matter. Yeah, there's a whole section at the end where it's like they try to stop him, and it's almost like they've actually had to restart the film, but everyone's so bored by it at this point. It's like, oh god, no, again, not more. Please end. Please end. The whole film's like that. From pretty much a third of the end, you're thinking, please end. That's before you get to the action scenes. There's an action scene there at the beginning where they're trying to introduce the new lead, and it's interrupted by bad comedy with Sandra Bullock getting driving lessons, even though she could drive in the first one. That's how stupid the film thinks you are, that you haven't remembered. Oh, the first one, she was a good driver. She's lost her license, but she's a good driver. Now she can't drive, and it's like, that just tells you so early on that this film has no respect for you. And then as it goes on and on, it's like, God, there's so much bad stuff here. And you always hope it's going to be better than its reputation, but this film is not. This is the Battlefield Earth level of, this is worse than you could ever imagine. This is a terrible film. This is unwatchably bad. This is, wow. Why did no one realise you're losing money in this? Like, why did no one just realise, oh, can we lead actor turns it down? Maybe it's just best to scrap this version and do a new script and try and find another setup that's more interesting. Because this was doomed from the start just by the studio and accepting something that was subpar and scripting and never expecting the name of Speed would actually keep it going, even though the idea was so bad and the execution and all the developments of the plot were just so terrible, and they didn't really strike a chord at all with anybody. And they never could, because they were like an instruction manual. That's what it was like. It was like instruction manual, the action movie. How boring can you imagine that being? This is the film it shows you. So I hope you enjoyed this, or enjoyed the rant. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, but it meant actually watching the film again. So it took a while for me to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back with one final movie. And what the hell is this? This would not even know what the hell is this movie. There's something potentially worse coming.